The red soil of Epsilon 7 stretched endlessly under twin suns, broken only by the neat rows of green crops that covered most of Haven Ridge Colony. Roy Blake walked slowly between the wheat fields, watching the automated harvesters move like giant metal insects across the landscape. The machines worked without sound, their anti-gravity systems keeping them floating just above the precious grain. 3,000 people called this place home, though most of the galaxy would laugh at calling Haven Ridge anything more than a farming outpost. No mighty walls protected it, no weapon towers rose from its center. The only structures that stood tall were grain silos, water towers, and the simple dome buildings where families lived and worked. Roy stopped near a group of children playing between the corn stalks. Their laughter carried across the fields, mixing with the gentle hum of processing equipment from the main facility. These kids had never seen a real city, never walked on Earth's crowded streets, never watched military parades march through grand capitals. For them, this quiet world of endless farms and clear skies was everything they knew. "Another peaceful day in paradise," said Ann Foster as she joined Roy near the edge of the field. The lead botanist carried a tablet filled with growth charts and soil readings. Her clothes were simple work gear, stained with dirt from her morning rounds through the experimental crops. "Paradise might be pushing it," Roy replied, but he smiled as he said it, though I admit after all those years in the fleet, watching plants grow instead of watching for enemy ships has its appeal. Anne nodded and looked out over the vast farmland that fed dozens of other human colonies throughout this sector. "The corn yield is up 12% this season. The new soil treatment is working better than we hoped. Director Wagner will be pleased when he sees the reports." Roy had been colony administrator for 2 years now, ever since he decided that a quiet retirement was exactly what he needed. His military service record was impressive enough to get him any posting he wanted, and he had chosen the most boring one available. No conflicts, no crisis management, no life or death decisions, just helping farmers grow food and keeping everyone happy and safe. The colony's main building sat in the center of everything, a low structure that housed the administrative offices, medical facility, and community center. Around it, family homes dotted the landscape in small clusters, connected by simple roads that never saw much traffic beyond the occasional supply truck or maintenance vehicle. Sam Rivera emerged from one of the equipment sheds, wiping grease from his hands with an old cloth. The young maintenance engineer kept every machine in the colony running smoothly, from the smallest irrigation pumps to the massive atmospheric processors that kept their air clean and breathable. "How are the harvesters running today?" Roy asked as Sam approached. "Like clockwork," Sam replied, "though I did have to recalibrate the guidance systems on Units 7 and 12. Nothing major, just routine maintenance. These machines are built to last decades with proper care." Roy appreciated how Sam took pride in his work. Every colony needed people who could fix things when they broke, and Sam had a natural talent for understanding complex machinery. His background included some military technical training, which made him valuable for maintaining their more sophisticated equipment. The three of them walked toward the main building as the afternoon shift change began. Workers emerged from the processing facilities while others headed out to check on the evening harvest schedules. Everything moved with calm efficiency, the result of years of practice and good planning. Director Paul Wagner met them at the entrance, carrying his usual stack of reports and requisition forms. The colony's head administrator took his job seriously, making sure every regulation was followed and every form was filed properly with Earth Command. "Roy, I need to talk with you about the quarterly supply shipment," Paul said, his voice carrying the slight stress that came with managing logistics for 3,000 people. "The transport captain is requesting a change to our delivery schedule. Something about routing adjustments in this sector." "What kind of adjustments?" Roy asked, though part of him already suspected this might be related to increased military activity in nearby systems. The galaxy had become less peaceful lately, with reports of alien raiders hitting isolated outposts and trade routes. "He wasn't specific," Paul replied. "Just said they're consolidating runs to reduce travel time. We might have to wait an extra 2 weeks for some of our equipment orders." Anne frowned at this news. "We're expecting replacement parts for the atmospheric processors. If those are delayed, we might have problems maintaining air quality in the residential sectors." "I'll contact the transport company directly," Roy decided. "See if we can get priority status for essential equipment." Being the food supplier for half this sector should count for something. They entered the main building and walked through corridors lined with status displays showing crop yields, weather patterns, and colony systems. Everything looked normal and peaceful, just as it had every day since Roy arrived. The displays showed green lights across the board, indicating all systems were functioning within normal parameters. In his office, Roy settled behind his desk and activated his communication terminal. The daily reports from Earth Command appeared on his screen, mostly routine updates about shipping schedules and administrative announcements. Nothing urgent, nothing that required immediate attention, but something in the latest intelligence briefing caught his eye. Reports of unusual alien fleet movements in the outer territories, probing attacks on isolated human settlements, increased military communications among species that had previously shown little interest in human space. The pattern suggested someone was gathering information about human defenses and capabilities. Roy read through the details carefully, his old military instincts automatically analyzing the data. The attacks had been small so far, targeting remote outposts and research stations. No major colonies had been hit, but the escalation pattern was unmistakable. Someone was testing human responses, learning about their defenses, preparing for something bigger. He leaned back in his chair and looked out the window at the peaceful farmland surrounding them. Haven Ridge would be an attractive target for raiders looking for easy supplies and hostages. A farming colony with minimal defenses, far from major military bases, filled with valuable resources and civilian populations that couldn't fight back effectively. The thought should have worried him more than it did. Any reasonable person would start making evacuation plans or requesting military protection. But Roy found himself feeling oddly calm about the possibility of trouble coming to their quiet little world. Maybe it was because he trusted the people here more than most civilians. Anne had handled crisis situations before during her research years. Sam's technical skills extended far beyond simple maintenance work. Even Director Wagner had experience managing difficult situations, though he preferred not to talk about his background. Or maybe it was because Haven Ridge wasn't quite as helpless as it appeared to outsiders. Roy smiled slightly as he thought about that, then returned his attention to the reports on his screen. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, the colony slept peacefully under alien stars, surrounded by fields of grain that fed the human expansion into the galaxy. The alarm that woke Sam Rivera wasn't his usual wake-up call. Instead of the gentle chime that signaled the start of another maintenance shift, his communication device screamed with an emergency tone that made his blood run cold. He rolled out of bed and grabbed the device, seeing Roy Blake's face on the screen with an expression that had nothing to do with farming or peaceful colony life. "Sam, get to the command center now. Bring your emergency kit," Roy said, his voice carrying the authority of his old military rank. "We have a situation." Sam dressed quickly and ran through the empty corridors of the residential sector. Outside, the twin suns were just rising over the horizon, casting long shadows across the grain fields. Everything looked normal, but something in the air felt different. Other people were moving with unusual purpose, heading toward the main building instead of their regular work assignments. The command center occupied a section of the main building that most colonists rarely saw. Sam had been there during his orientation, but it had seemed like just another administrative office with extra communication equipment. Now, as he entered the room, he saw displays and control panels that definitely weren't standard colony management gear. Anne Foster stood near a bank of monitors showing star charts and sensor readings. Her usual calm demeanor had been replaced by intense focus as she studied the incoming data. Director Wagner worked at another station, his fingers flying over controls that looked far more sophisticated than anything needed for managing supply shipments. "What's happening?" Sam asked as he joined the group. Roy pointed to the main display screen, which showed a tactical representation of their local star system. Red dots moved steadily toward their position, still several hours away but approaching with clear hostile intent. "Long-range sensors picked up an alien fleet about an hour ago," Roy explained. 12 ships, military configuration heading directly for us. Intelligence databases identify them as Dominion forces. Sam felt his stomach drop. The Dominion had a reputation throughout human space as aggressive conquerors who specialized in overwhelming isolated targets. Their standard approach was simple and brutal: destroy any resistance, capture valuable resources, enslave or eliminate the population. Can we evacuate? Sam asked, though he already suspected the answer. Nearest human fleet is 3 weeks away, Anne replied without looking up from her sensors. Even if we started loading transport ships right now, they'd catch us long before we reach safety. What about calling for help? Sam tried. Already sent emergency signals to Earth Command and the Regional Defense Force, Director Wagner said. But the response time is the same problem. Help won't arrive until long after this is over. Roy moved to the Central Command Station and began activating systems that Sam didn't recognize. We're on our own for this one. The question is whether we fight or surrender. Fight? Sam looked around the room at the small group of farmers and administrators. With what? We don't have military weapons or trained soldiers, don't we? Roy asked, and something in his tone made Sam pay closer attention. Anne turned from her monitoring station with a slight smile. Sam, how long have you been maintaining our agricultural equipment without wondering why grain processing facilities need gravitational field generators? Sam thought about that for a moment. In his 2 years at Haven Ridge, he had worked on dozens of machines that seemed overly complex for their stated purposes. The atmospheric processors had power outputs far beyond what was needed for air purification. The grain silos contained electromagnetic systems that made no sense for food storage. The irrigation networks included fiber optic communications that could handle military-grade data transmission. I thought it was just over-engineering, Sam said slowly. Earth colonies always get the latest technology, even when it's not really necessary. That's what we wanted everyone to think, Director Wagner said as he continued working at his station. Including our own people, until a situation like this arose. Roy activated another set of displays, and suddenly the peaceful farming colony looked very different. Underground structures appeared on the tactical maps, connecting every major building through a network of tunnels and facilities that Sam had never suspected existed. The grain silos showed internal configurations that had nothing to do with food storage. The maintenance sheds revealed hidden entrances to much larger underground workshops. Haven Ridge isn't just a farming colony, Roy explained. It's a classified Earth defense research station designed to test new defensive technologies under realistic conditions. Everything you see above ground is real. We do produce food for other colonies, but that's only half of what we do here. Sam stared at the displays, trying to process this information. You mean everyone here knows about this except me? Not everyone, Anne said gently. About 60% of our population are retired military specialists or defense researchers. The others are genuine civilians who applied for farming jobs. We maintain both populations to preserve the cover identity, and because we actually need people who know how to grow food. But you're telling me now, because we need every person with technical skills, Roy continued. The automated systems can handle most of the defensive operations, but human oversight makes them much more effective. Director Wagner looked up from his station with urgency in his voice. Fleet has increased speed. Arrival time now estimated at 4 hours, 20 minutes. Roy nodded and turned back to Sam. I need to know if you're willing to help defend this place. Your maintenance work has actually been critical system management for our hidden defensive network. You've been keeping military-grade equipment operational without knowing it. Sam thought about the children playing in the cornfields, the families who had made homes here, the peaceful life they had all built together. The idea of alien warships destroying everything they had created made his decision easy. What do you need me to do? First, help Anne with the sensor calibration, Roy replied. We need exact tracking on their approach vector and ship configurations. Then we'll begin bringing the defensive systems online. Anne handed Sam a technical manual that was definitely not about farming equipment. These are the real specifications for our sensor array. Study the targeting protocols while I finish the initial scans. As Sam began reading, he realized that his quiet job maintaining irrigation pumps and grain processors had actually involved much more complex responsibilities. The systems he thought he understood were just the surface layer of technology that went much deeper underground. One more thing, Roy said as he began activating additional command protocols. Everything you learn in the next few hours is classified at the highest levels. Even after this crisis is over, Haven Ridge must continue appearing to be just a farming colony. Why? Sam asked. Because, Director Wagner replied with a grim smile. There are 47 other colonies just like this one scattered throughout human space. If our enemies ever figure out that humanity's most vulnerable-looking settlements are actually our most heavily defended positions, we lose one of our greatest strategic advantages. Sam looked again at the approaching red dots on the tactical display. In less than 4 hours, they would find out whether their deception was as effective as Earth Command hoped. Deep beneath the wheat fields of Haven Ridge, elevators that Sam never knew existed carried him down through solid rock into chambers that redefined everything he thought he understood about their quiet farming colony. The descent took nearly 3 minutes, dropping far below the deepest basements of the surface, buildings into a complex that stretched for kilometers. Underground emergency lighting activated, automatically as they moved through corridors, wide enough for military vehicles. Anne walked beside him, no longer the gentle botanist he had known for 2 years. Her movements had the precise efficiency of someone trained for combat situations, and she carried herself with the confidence of a person who belonged in military installations. The excavation took 5 years, Anne explained as they passed through security checkpoints that scanned their biometric data. Earth Command chose this location because the geological structure was perfect for underground construction. The surface farming provides excellent cover and serves a real economic purpose. They entered a vast central chamber that took Sam's breath away. Banks of computers lined the walls, their displays showing tactical information about fleet movements, weapon systems, and defensive capabilities that rivaled anything he had seen during his military training. Technicians worked at stations throughout the room, their casual farming clothes replaced by military uniforms that had been hidden in personal lockers for months or years. Director Wagner stood at the central command station, but he was no longer the bureaucratic administrator who worried about supply shipments and quarterly reports. The man giving orders to experienced military personnel was clearly a senior officer, with decades of command experience. "Sensor array is fully active," reported a woman Sam recognized as a greenhouse supervisor. "Enemy fleet maintaining approach vector. Estimated arrival in 2 hours, 40 minutes. Defensive grid status?" Wagner asked. "All primary systems green," replied another technician who had supposedly been working in food processing. "Secondary systems coming online now. Estimated readiness in 90 minutes. Sam watched in amazement as people he had shared meals with for years revealed themselves as specialists in fields far removed from agriculture. The quiet librarian who ran their educational programs was coordinating electronic warfare systems. The maintenance supervisor who had trained Sam in equipment repair was managing power distribution for weapon systems that could destroy spaceships. "This is incredible," Sam said to Anne. "How did you keep this secret for so long?" "Practice," Anne replied. "Most of us have been living double lives for years. During the day we really do grow crops and maintain the colony, but we also train for situations like this. Everyone here volunteered for this assignment, knowing it might someday require us to fight." Roy approached them wearing a military uniform that fit him perfectly, the insignia marking him as a full colonel rather than a simple colony administrator. "Sam, I need you to understand something important. The people working down here aren't just pretending to be farmers. They really are farmers, teachers, engineers, and scientists. But they're also trained defenders who chose to protect human space by appearing vulnerable." "Why tell me the truth now?" Sam asked. "Because your skills are crucial to our success," Roy replied. "Every piece of equipment you've maintained has dual purposes. The irrigation systems carry power and data to hidden weapons. The grain silos house defensive missiles. The atmospheric processors can generate electromagnetic fields that disrupt enemy sensors. You've been keeping our defensive network operational without knowing it." Anne led them to a detailed model of the colony that showed both surface and underground structures. "The beautiful thing about this setup is that everything works exactly as advertised. We really do produce food for other human colonies. Our agricultural research really does develop better crops. Our civilian population really does live normal family lives. The deception works because it isn't entirely deception." Sam studied the model, beginning to understand the elegant complexity of what they had built. "So when maintenance schedules called for checking the gravitational stabilizers in Grain Silo 7, you were actually calibrating targeting systems for surface-to-space missiles," Anne confirmed. "When you performed routine inspections on the atmospheric processors, you were testing the power systems for our shield generators. Every maintenance task you've completed in 2 years has been genuine work on essential systems," Roy added. We just never mentioned that those systems had defensive capabilities. A new voice joined their conversation as Dr. Linda Hayes approached their group. Sam had known her as the colony's head medical officer, a quiet woman who ran their small hospital with gentle efficiency. Now she wore the uniform of a military intelligence officer. "Colonel Blake, we've completed analysis of the enemy fleet composition," Linda reported. 12 ships total, 6 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, 2 support vessels. Standard Dominion assault formation for conquering isolated colonies. "What do we know about their capabilities?" Roy asked. "Plasma weapons, kinetic barriers, basic electronic warfare systems," Linda replied. "Nothing we haven't encountered before. Their primary advantage is overwhelming firepower against undefended targets. They're not prepared for organized resistance." Sam looked around the command center at dozens of people who had successfully maintained this elaborate deception for years. "How long has this operation been active?" "Haven Ridge was established 8 years ago," Wagner replied from his command station. "The first 3 years were genuine colony development while we excavated the underground facilities. We've been fully operational for 5 years, producing food while preparing for exactly this kind of attack." "And other colonies like this exist throughout human space?" Sam asked. 47 installations, Anne confirmed. "Each one appears to be a vulnerable target while actually being a heavily defended fortress. The strategy gives us early warning about hostile intentions, while providing strong defensive positions in critical locations." Roy activated a tactical display showing their defensive capabilities. "Sam, look at this and tell me what you think." The display revealed an integrated network of weapon systems, shield generators, sensor arrays, and communication equipment that transformed the peaceful farming colony into a military installation that could challenge a fleet of warships. Everything had been hidden beneath the surface or disguised as agricultural equipment. "This is more advanced than most Earth defense bases," Sam said with genuine amazement. "That's the point," Roy replied. "These colonies serve as testing grounds for experimental defensive technologies. If something works here, it gets deployed to protect major human worlds. If it fails, we improve the design and try again." "But you're risking civilian lives," Sam pointed out, "are we?" Anne asked. "Look around this room. These people chose to be here knowing the risks. Their families understand what they're protecting. And if this system works as designed, we'll defeat the attack so decisively that word will spread throughout alien space that human colonies are much more dangerous than they appear." Wagner's voice cut through their conversation with an urgent announcement. "All stations prepare for final system activation. Enemy fleet has entered our outer sensor perimeter. Time to contact. 1 hour, 37 minutes. Sam watched as the command center transformed into a fully active military headquarters. People moved with practiced efficiency, executing procedures they had trained for during countless drills while maintaining their cover as simple colonists. "What's my role in all this?" Sam asked Roy. "You're our primary systems coordinator," Roy replied. "Every defensive system depends on the maintenance work you've been doing. Your job is to monitor system performance and handle any technical problems that arise during combat operations." Sam took his position at a technical station he now recognized as a military-grade engineering console. The displays showed status information for weapons, shields, sensors, and power systems he had been unknowingly maintaining for 2 years. For the first time since learning the truth about Haven Ridge, Sam smiled. "I've been preparing for this my whole life without knowing it." Above them, the surface colony continued its normal daily routine, with most of the civilian population unaware that anything unusual was happening. Children played in the fields while their parents worked the evening shift, all of them protected by defenses they never suspected existed. The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm of metal and fury, 12 warships arranged in perfect attack formation against the backdrop of Epsilon 7's twin suns. Their hulls gleamed with the dark armor that had conquered dozens of worlds, and their weapon arrays powered up with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. In the underground command center, Sam watched the tactical displays track every enemy vessel as they began their final approach. The alien ships moved with the casual arrogance of forces that had never encountered serious resistance from human colonies. Their communications chatter, translated by advanced algorithms, revealed commanders discussing how quickly they could secure the agricultural facilities and begin loading valuable supplies. They're treating this like a routine harvesting operation. Linda reported from her intelligence station. No special precautions, no advance reconnaissance, no indication they suspect anything beyond standard colonial defenses. Director Wagner, now clearly revealed as a senior military commander, studied the enemy formation with experienced eyes. Textbook assault pattern for overwhelming a farming settlement. They plan to destroy any resistance with their first volley, then land troops to secure the facilities and population. Roy stood at the central command station, his fingers poised over controls that would activate defensive systems hidden throughout the colony. Around him, dozens of specialists prepared for a battle that would determine not just their own survival, but the effectiveness of humanity's most secret defensive strategy. All stations report ready status, Roy announced. Sensor array fully operational, came the first response. Weapons grid, armed and targeted, reported the second. Shield generators charged and standing by, added a third voice. Electronic, warfare ready for deployment, confirmed the woman. Sam had known as a greenhouse supervisor. On the surface, automated systems began the final preparations. Grain silos opened hidden panels to reveal missile launchers. Atmospheric processing stations reconfigured themselves as shield generators. Irrigation networks that had carried water for years now transmitted targeting, data and power distribution commands. The enemy fleet. Commander's voice echoed through the communication system as the aliens attempted to contact the colony. His words, translated into standard human language, carried the casual cruelty typical of Dominion conquests. Human settlement on planetary surface, you will surrender immediately, lower any defensive barriers and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the destruction of your facilities and the elimination of your population. Roy activated the colony's external communication system and responded with carefully calculated weakness. This is Haven Ridge Colony Administration. We're just farmers here. We don't have any military capabilities. Please don't hurt our families. Anne, monitoring the alien responses, reported their predictable reaction. Enemy commanders are laughing at our response. They're discussing how humans always beg for mercy before being conquered. No indication of increased caution or tactical adjustments. The lead Dominion ship opened fire with a demonstration blast that struck an empty field near the colony perimeter. The plasma bolt created a crater 50 meters wide, sending smoke and debris into the air while causing no actual damage to critical facilities. Next strike will target your main buildings unless you begin immediate evacuation procedures, the alien commander announced. You have 60 seconds to comply. Roy looked around the command center at people who had lived double lives for years, preparing for exactly this moment. Execute harvest protocol. All systems active. Begin defensive operations. The transformation of Haven Ridge from farming colony to military fortress happened in seconds. Shield generators that had been disguised as grain silos activated with brilliant flashes of energy, creating protective barriers around every critical facility. Weapon systems emerged from underground bunkers hidden beneath crop fields. Sensor arrays that had tracked weather patterns now locked onto enemy ships with military precision. The Dominion fleet, expecting to face panicked farmers with primitive defenses, suddenly found themselves confronting a fully operational military installation with capabilities that rivaled major Earth defense bases. Enemy shields detected, reported the alien communications officer, his voice carrying confusion and alarm. Multiple defensive installations active. This is not a civilian target. Impossible, replied the fleet commander. Intelligence reports confirmed this was an agricultural settlement with minimal defenses. Sam watched his displays as systems he had maintained without understanding their true purpose, came online with perfect coordination. Power flowed through networks he had tested during routine maintenance. Weapon systems he had calibrated while thinking they were farming equipment locked onto enemy targets with deadly accuracy. First enemy volley incoming, Anne announced as the alien ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and kinetic projectiles struck Haven Ridge's defensive shields, creating spectacular light shows as the energy barriers absorbed and dispersed the attacks. The aliens had brought enough firepower to level an undefended city, but the concealed shield generators handled their assault with ease. All shields holding at 96% capacity, Sam reported, amazed at the efficiency of systems he had been unknowingly maintaining. No damage to primary facilities, The alien commander's voice now carried panic as he tried to understand what was happening. How do they have military-grade defensive systems? This was supposed to be a farming colony. Sir, sensor readings indicate extensive underground installations, reported an alien tactical officer. Weapon signatures match Earth defense military equipment. We may have been deceived about the nature of this target. Roy smiled grimly as he watched the enemy fleet struggle to adjust their tactics. Too late for second thoughts. Sam, bring targeting systems online and begin electronic warfare operations. Let's show them what happens when someone attacks our home. The hidden weapon batteries emerged from their concealment like deadly flowers blooming in fast motion. Missile launchers rose from grain fields. Energy cannons extended from disguised agricultural buildings. And orbital defense platforms activated from positions the aliens had never detected. All weapons locked on target, reported the former food processing supervisor, who was actually a weapons specialist. Awaiting firing authorization. Fire when ready, Roy commanded. The counterattack began with a coordinated strike that demonstrated years of planning and preparation. Missiles launched from concealed silos struck alien ships with precision targeting that exploited weaknesses in their shield configurations. Energy weapons fired from multiple positions created crossfire patterns that overwhelmed enemy defensive systems. In less than 30 seconds, 2 Dominion destroyers suffered critical damage and began falling toward the planet's surface. A heavy cruiser lost main power as electromagnetic pulses disrupted its primary systems. The remaining ships found themselves under attack from directions they had never anticipated, facing weapons they couldn't locate or target effectively. Enemy fleet attempting to withdraw. Anne reported as the aliens finally realized they were fighting a battle they couldn't win. Pursuit course laid in, Wagner announced. We're not letting them escape to report our capabilities, Am. Watched in amazement as the peaceful farming colony he had called home revealed itself as one of humanity's most sophisticated defensive installations. Every system worked perfectly. Every weapon found its target. Every defensive measure exceeded expectations. The 6-minute war had begun, and the aliens who had expected easy conquest were learning that human colonies were far more dangerous than they appeared. The alien fleet's attempt to retreat became a nightmare of technological superiority they had never imagined possible. As the Dominion ships tried to escape the range of Haven Ridge's weapons, they discovered that humanity's defensive systems extended far beyond the colony's visible boundaries. Sam watched his engineering displays with growing amazement as hidden orbital platforms came online throughout the star system. Satellites that had appeared to be simple communication relays revealed themselves as weapon platforms with targeting capabilities that tracked every enemy vessel. Mining stations on distant asteroids activated defense grids that created overlapping fields of fire across multiple approach vectors. Gravitational manipulation systems active, reported Anne from her sensor station. Enemy navigation computers are receiving false readings. Their hyperspace calculators can't establish stable jump coordinates. The lead Dominion ship attempted to enter hyperspace and failed spectacularly. Instead of the smooth transition to faster-than-light travel, the vessel shuddered violently as conflicting gravitational fields disrupted its jump engines. Warning alarms echoed across their communication channels as alien engineers struggled to understand why their most reliable technology had suddenly stopped working. This is impossible. The alien fleet commander broadcast on open channels. Human colonies don't have gravitational manipulators. These are experimental technologies that don't exist outside major military installations. Director Wagner smiled as he coordinated the systematic destruction of enemy capabilities. That's exactly what we wanted them to think. Earth defense has been testing advanced systems at installations like this for years. Today marks the first combat deployment of technologies they'll be seeing throughout human space. The electronic warfare assault began with surgical precision that demonstrated intimate knowledge of Dominion ship designs. Every alien vessel found its communication systems jammed, its sensor arrays confused by false signals, and its weapon targeting computers infected with viruses that had been specifically designed to exploit their technology. How do they know our ship configuration so well? Demanded an alien tactical officer whose transmissions were being intercepted and decoded in real time. Intelligence gathering, Linda replied from her station as she monitored alien communications. We've been studying Dominion technology for years through captured equipment and infiltration operations. Every weakness in their systems has been cataloged and exploited. The Counterattack intensified as Haven Ridge's hidden weapons demonstrated capabilities that redefined what farming colonies could accomplish. Kinetic projectiles launched from electromagnetic accelerators struck enemy ships with velocities that overwhelmed their defensive barriers. Energy weapons fired in coordinated patterns that created interference effects, amplifying damage beyond what individual strikes could achieve. Sam's displays showed power flowing through systems he had maintained without understanding their true complexity. The irrigation networks he had repaired carried massive energy loads to weapon batteries. The atmospheric processors he had calibrated generated electromagnetic fields that disrupted enemy electronics. The grain silos he had inspected housed targeting computers that coordinated attacks across vast distances. Enemy cruiser attempting to restore communications, Anne reported. Jamming effectiveness at 87% and increasing. Boost signal interference on frequencies 4 through 9, Roy commanded. Don't let them coordinate a group response. The isolated alien ships found themselves fighting individual battles against an opponent that seemed to anticipate their every move. Human tactical computers loaded with years of intelligence data about Dominion strategies predicted enemy responses and positioned countermeasures before the aliens could implement their plans. A desperate Dominion destroyer tried to ram one of the grain silos, hoping to eliminate what appeared to be a weapons position. The ship's collision course took it directly into a trap that had been prepared for exactly this tactic. Hidden tractor beam generators seized the vessel and redirected its momentum into a controlled crash that destroyed the ship without damaging any colony facilities. Ramming attack neutralized, reported the woman Sam had known as a librarian. Target destroyed with 0 damage to our installations. These humans have been planning this for years, an alien communications officer transmitted before his signal was cut off by electronic jamming. Every response we attempt has already been anticipated and countered. The systematic destruction of the Dominion fleet continued with methodical efficiency. Each enemy vessel faced a customized attack profile that exploited its specific vulnerabilities. Heavy cruisers found their massive armor useless against weapons that targeted their internal systems through electromagnetic penetration. Destroyers discovered that their speed advantages meant nothing when their navigation systems fed them false information about their position and velocity. Remaining enemy vessels attempting emergency retreat, Wagner announced. 3 ships still have partial engine capability. Implement pursuit protocol, Roy decided. We can't allow survivors to report our defensive capabilities to Dominion Command. The final phase of the battle demonstrated the true reach of humanity's hidden defensive network. Weapons platforms throughout the star system coordinated a pursuit operation that tracked the fleeing alien ships across millions of kilometers. Automated systems that had waited years for activation launched interceptor missiles with advanced guidance systems that could follow targets through multiple course changes. Sam watched in awe as his maintenance work proved crucial to humanity's most sophisticated military operation. Every system he had tested, every component he had replaced, every calibration he had performed had contributed to a defensive capability that was redefining the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Last enemy vessel has lost main power, Anne reported as the final Dominion ship drifted helplessly in space. All weapon systems offline. Life support failing. Transmission incoming from the disabled cruiser, Linda announced. They're requesting terms for surrender. Roy considered the request for a moment, then activated the communication system. Dominion vessels, this is Haven Ridge Colony. You attacked a peaceful farming settlement without provocation. Surrender is not available. You have 60 seconds to abandon ship before we complete our defensive response. The alien escape pods launched immediately, carrying survivors who would spend the rest of their lives telling anyone who would listen that human agricultural colonies were the most dangerous targets in the galaxy. All enemy vessels destroyed or disabled. Wagner reported as the last weapon strikes eliminated the remaining threat. Total engagement time, 5 minutes 43 seconds. Sam looked around the command center at people who had successfully maintained one of the most important deceptions in human history. For years, they had appeared to be simple farmers while operating a military installation that could defeat entire fleets. Their success would echo throughout alien space, making aggressive species think twice before attacking any human settlement. Phase 1 complete, Roy announced. Begin recovery operations and damage assessment. Sam, I need a full systems report within the hour. As Sam began his post-battle analysis, he realized that his quiet life as a maintenance engineer had actually been preparation for humanity's most crucial defensive strategy. Every day of routine work had contributed to a moment that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of human capabilities. The silence that followed the destruction of the Dominion fleet felt almost sacred after the intensity of combat. In the underground command center, status displays showed green lights across every system, confirming what seemed impossible just hours earlier. Haven Ridge had emerged from the battle completely unharmed. Sam completed his damage assessment with growing amazement. All defensive systems operating at full capacity, he reported to Roy. 0 casualties, 0 structural damage to surface or underground facilities. Power grid stable, weapon systems ready for immediate redeployment if needed. Above them, the surface colony continued its peaceful routine, though most civilians now knew something significant had happened. Children still played between the cornstalks, but their parents watched the skies with new understanding of what protected their quiet world. Anne finished analyzing the debris field where 12 Dominion warships had met their end. Alien survivors in escape pods are being recovered by automated systems, 17 individuals total, all requesting asylum and offering intelligence in exchange for protection. Interrogation protocols? Director Wagner asked. Standard procedure, Roy replied. Medical treatment, basic comfort, then careful debriefing about Dominion fleet movements and strategic planning. Their information could help protect other human settlements. Linda approached with communication intercepts that painted a picture of the battle's broader implications. We're receiving emergency transmissions from Dominion territory. Word of the fleet's destruction is spreading faster than their commanders can control it. Multiple species are reassessing their strategic assumptions about human defensive capabilities. Sam studied the tactical recordings of their victory, still processing how completely the aliens had been outmatched. They never had a chance, did they? This wasn't a battle, it was a demonstration. That's exactly what it was, Roy confirmed. Earth defense has been preparing for this moment since the first colony ship left Earth. Every settlement like Haven Ridge serves multiple purposes: genuine economic activity, advanced research, and strategic deception that makes our enemies underestimate our true capabilities. The woman Sam had known as a greenhouse supervisor, now revealed as a communications specialist, reported incoming messages from throughout human space. We're receiving priority signals from Earth Command, Regional Defense Authority, and 46 other installations with configurations similar to ours. What's the content? Wagner asked. Congratulations and strategic updates, she replied. Haven Ridge has just validated the entire Hidden Fortress program. Earth Command is authorizing similar responses if other colonies face attack. Anne activated a holographic display showing the political map of their sector, with trade routes, military positions, and known alien territories marked in different colors. The strategic implications are already becoming clear. 3 different species have canceled planned raids on human settlements. The consortium is requesting emergency diplomatic meetings. Even the hegemony is reconsidering their expansion plans. Sam looked at the map and realized he was seeing the galaxy through completely different eyes than he had that morning. How many other colonies like this exist? 47 active installations, Roy replied. Each one appears to be a vulnerable target, while actually being a fully operational military base. The strategy gives us early warning about hostile intentions while maintaining strong defensive positions throughout human space. And the people who live at these places? Sam asked. Do they all know the truth? Mixed populations, Linda explained. About 60% are retired military specialists or defense researchers who volunteered for the assignment. The others are genuine civilians who applied for colony positions. Everyone contributes to both the cover identity and the defensive capability. Director Wagner received a priority communication from Earth Command and shared its contents with the group. Official recognition of tactical excellence. Haven Ridge is being designated as the primary training facility for similar installations. We'll be hosting commanders from other hidden colonies to share operational procedures. Roy activated displays, showing the detailed records of their battle, from initial contact through final victory. This engagement will be studied at military academies for decades. 6 minutes from first shot to complete victory. 0 friendly casualties. Total destruction of a numerically superior enemy force. The key was making them underestimate us, Anne added. They approached expecting to fight farmers with basic weapons. Instead, they encountered a fully integrated defensive system that had been preparing for their specific tactics for years. Sam thought about his role in the deception and felt a strange mixture of pride and disbelief. For 2 years, I've been maintaining the most advanced military technology in human space while thinking I was just fixing irrigation pumps. Your work was absolutely crucial, Roy assured him. Every system functioned perfectly because you kept them in optimal condition. The maintenance schedules you followed were designed by Earth Defense engineers to ensure peak performance when we needed it most. The communication specialist reported new intelligence about alien reactions to their victory. Intercepts suggest that at least 6 different species are now assuming all human colonies have similar defensive capabilities. The deterrent effect is exceeding our most optimistic projections. That's the real victory, Wagner observed. Military analysts estimate this single engagement may prevent dozens of future attacks on human settlements. The psychological impact of our defensive demonstration is worth more than winning 100 conventional battles. Linda activated another set of displays, showing the broader strategic situation. Intelligence reports indicate that several aggressive species are now requesting detailed information about human defensive capabilities before planning any operations near our territory. The unknown factor is making them much more cautious. Sam realized that his maintenance logs from the past 2 years had actually documented the preparation of humanity's most successful military deception. Will this change how we operate here? Surface operations continue exactly as before, Roy replied. We're still a farming colony that feeds other human settlements. We still conduct genuine agricultural research and maintain normal family communities. The only difference is that selected personnel now know about our defensive capabilities. And if we're attacked again? Sam asked. Then we'll demonstrate once more that human colonies are much more dangerous than they appear, Roy replied with satisfaction. Anne showed him the communication logs from their victory, including messages from other colonies throughout human space. Every hidden installation is now on active alert, ready to respond if attacked. Today's success has activated a defensive network that spans dozens of star systems. As the immediate aftermath of battle gave way to routine operations, Sam found himself looking at Haven Ridge with completely new understanding. The grain field still stretched to the horizon under twin suns, but now he knew that beneath the peaceful surface lay one of humanity's most sophisticated military installations. Children still played between the corn stalks. Families still worked the evening shift, and the colony still produced food for other human settlements. But now they did so under the protection of defenses that had just proven they could defeat any threat that might emerge from the hostile galaxy beyond their quiet world. The 6-minute war was over, but its implications would reshape the balance of power throughout known space. Haven Ridge had shown the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't military might, but the ability to appear weak while preparing for any challenge that might threaten their peaceful expansion among the stars.